Hello and welcome to the Outcast. I'm your host HC, and with me is.
Wolf.
And today it's time to yell Kawabunga again because we're back with another Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles property. Is not the right word, but another Ninja Turtles thing. And yes, we are totally doing this in time for the show that came out a few days ago because I mistimed and thought it's coming out next week. But we'll talk about it next week. But anyway, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, the latest feature film starring our favorite turtles, and an animated one this time. And just to give you guys a heads up, in case you haven't listened to any other Ninja Turtles thing we've done, I am the big Turtles fan. Wolf is a casual fan slash hater, depends on how he wants to advertise himself in any episode.
We'll go as hater for this one. HC dragged
Ah,
me. HC dragged me here, kicking and screaming.
no, I didn't. This is all done with consent. I am not forcing him to watch any of this stuff. Also, you forced me to watch Sword Art Online, so we are even. But either way, before we actually get to Mutant Mayhem itself, so yeah, I'm the big fan. Wolf is
Yeah,
a casual fan, I suppose.
yeah.
Um, just to give just because we never really talked about the Ninja Turtles movies themselves. Have you ever seen any of the movies, the theatrical or the
I mean, I've
TV?
said it before. I definitely saw like the original '90s ones, right?
Mm-hmm.
I 100% saw those, and yeah, I have seen the Michael Bay ones.
You poor soul. I've seen them too, but like, no one should see them. But
I
this
like
is the
them
reason.
because they were terrible, but yeah, no, they're bad.
Yeah,
They're
well,
awful.
fair enough. But to me,
Other
though,
movies, I don't. Are there other movies? If there are,
wha-
I haven't seen them.
between Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 and the first Michael Bay movie, there was TMNT from 2007,
I don't think I
which
saw those.
like TMNT from 2007 is one of those movies that I liked when I first saw it, but the more I watch it, the more it starts to fall apart. Maybe one day we'll have to do a podcast on it for for the sake of talking because it's a movie that I just you see it and you go, It's not terrible, but what the fuck were they thinking with this story?"
Mm.
And but that's a story for that's something for another day. We'll maybe one day we'll cover it because I think there will be some interesting things to say about that.
Hmm.
But in a way, the Ninja Turtles never really had a movie which was well received. Like I loved the original one from the 90s. I also enjoyed the second one, but they never had a critically well received movie. And the Michael Bay ones surely didn't have help with that. But after the second Michael Bay movie underperformed, they decided, you know what, we are gonna take a different direction. And when I heard that this direction was going to be an animated movie and Seth Rogen is producing, I was like, I'm listening. I know Seth Rogen may be like a weird choice for like something because when people think Seth Rogen, they think about the stoner comedies and everything.
Hmm.
But you need to remember he started with teenage movies, like Superbad and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, I can see Seth Rogen working on the Turtles turning out something fun and interesting. I'm game. And then I saw the trailers and thought, this is doing the Spider Verse thing, but like with its own twist on it. I'm interested.
Yeah,
And
taking a brief like little talk about the animation style and everything. It looks really good. I really like the animation style for this one.
yep,
Very again, like you said, like very similar to very similar vibe to the Spider Verse, but very much feels like its own thing as well. Very good, very stylized, very much enjoyed.
yep. And then when the actual movie came out, I really enjoyed it, and I still do. A lot of people say it's the best Turtles movie ever. I am still not sure if I like it more than the 90s original, and maybe because I will say some of the TV or direct to video, if you will, Netflix and stuff. I need to some evaluate those to some degree, but then I still think really good Turtles movie. Wolf, what do you think?
I thought it was good, but it's definitely not my favorite Turtles thing. Like I think my favorite Turtles thing is still Last Ronin, of the stuff you've like had me go through so far.
Well,
Uh,
the last Ronin is kind of in a league of its own, but I get you.
I think that one still is like my top of the list. But this was still fun. It was still enjoyable. You know what? For me, this one felt like it was a little bit. It felt like kind of some of those early to late '90s movies and early 2000s movies where it was trying really hard to like tap into, at least at times. Some of it I found funny, but some of it felt like it was trying really. This movie particularly felt like it was trying really hard to tap into that. Hey kids, what do you find funny nowadays? So,
Which is interesting that you say that because part of the thing that's actually making this movie unique is that this is the first time the turtles were voiced by actual teenagers, and I think
which that's fine. I don't have anything wrong with that. That's not an
but
issue.
and like but that's the thing that like I think around 70 to 80% of their dialogue is improvised by the actors.
Yeah, that makes a lot
So
more sense.
yeah, so I'm not sure how much of it is like, hey kids, you like this too, right? Or it's just maybe you are just old.
I am old. But yeah, I mean, honestly, hey, this is where I'm gonna put this out. Like Gen Alpha, I know most of you were like teenagers about this point, more or less around most of you, not all of you, but most of you around teenagers at this point. For those of you that watched this movie, did you find it funny? No, I'm not talking to you Zoomers. You're also old now. Most of you are over
Yeah,
20. Not all of you, but
that
most of you.
and that's something I wanted to bring up to you because this movie did get kind of hate for the turtles acting like teenagers. The first part of the name, people were actually like, "Why are they acting like teenagers? This is not how the turtles should act." And it's like, did you guys read the title of? Did you read what movie you were going to see? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, not adult.
That
But
doesn't bother me. Like you know, I think Last Ronin's getting a movie, right?
yeah, it
Yeah,
it
so
does.
we'll get our more adult turtles then, as far as I'm
But
concerned. So this doesn't
yeah,
bother
that
me. This is like
because
it's
that's also this is another thing that we are probably going to talk more about this when we get into spoilers. But there's nothing wrong with a franchise that I get like as of this year, the Ninja Turtles is a 40 years old franchise, right? They turned 40 in May.
Mm.
So, and so this movie came out last year. So, when a franchise is going for 39 to 40 years, you can have different takes on it. You can
Well,
definitely do other stuff with it. And they've done before. Some takes are better, some takes are worse, definitely. But I'm also saying, because Last Ronin was already a thing when this came out. So it's totally plausible to have something that's a bit more jokey comedy because again, even though that's also funny that the people who say that they don't like this movie and that the original Turtles are the best are also the people who think that the 80s show is the original Turtles. And if you think that, then you're just wrong. The 80s show is not the OG, it's the comics. So,
it's
people
what
people be
people
people.
grew up with. I get it, right? Like this definitely didn't hit as well with me, but I very much understand. I'm also not really the target audience either, right? Because at you mentioned yourself, right? The franchise is like going on 40 years old, right? So or is 40 years old.
He
So
turned May 2024 was the 40th anniversary.
yeah, so I mean, it's one of those things of like, if you don't make stuff for the newer generations, targeted at newer generations, at younger kids again, your franchise is just gonna die.
And
Yeah,
it's
this may
not
not. The
just
humor in this one definitely doesn't hit with me 100% of the time, but I still found something to enjoy here. Like it was still fun. So
Mhm. And to be
doesn't
honest,
matter to
again,
me.
we're not gonna talk again. I'm not going to talk about the show that just came out, which continues the movie until next week. That's when we're gonna cover that. But I also feel that there are some takes on the characters that just don't necessarily come out as well as they want because they let the actors improvise so much. And don't get me wrong, I enjoy that. I like their improvisations, and I think that all of them had really good chemistry with each other. But I'm also thinking there also, when you let an actor improvise, you also need to know when to cut them to not interfere with the story. And I think having now watched the show, I think that one handles their improvisations and their antics, quote unquote, a bit better.
Mm,
But that'll be interesting to discuss once we actually get to the show next week. But I think it's
fair.
probably this thing that they let them improvise maybe a bit too much instead of just giving them a full on script to actually work with. But that kind of remains to be seen, and maybe it's just a meeting. But
Oh no,
regardless,
there was for me personally, right? I will say there was one scene where I was like, okay, this has went on like 2 minutes too long, and it's the exact same joke. Like if I'm looking at the bar because I watched this on Amazon. If I'm looking at the bar at the bottom, like counting the seconds, it's like, all right, this bit has went on for too long. Move on. It died 30 seconds into the bit, and you've let it go on for like a full minute and a half to 2 minutes. Please stop. If I'm looking like how far ahead can I skip to get past this bit, then I think you have failed. And again, maybe that's just this humor doesn't line up with me because I'm too old. Fair enough. I get it, right? If you're younger, if you are younger than 20 years old, like you're, 15, 16, and you found that shit hilarious, fair enough. Enjoy it. Have fun. Wasn't for me. At least this
so
one particular bit.
but overall, would you say that you recommend the movie?
Yeah, I had fun with it. At the very least, like I would definitely say like it's a good movie and I had fun with it. I think, if you're a fan of TMNT, you'll have something here that you like. If you're new to TMNT, I think you'll have something here that you'll like.
If anything, I think this is a really good jumping off point because
Yeah,
this was actually my fiance's jumping off point into TMNT.
I think
So,
there are worse starts you could have with TMNT.
oh, definitely, definitely, it's not the next mutation or the Michael Bay movies or God forbid, the 2007 TMNT. Again, it's not a terrible movie, but if you're coming into it not knowing anything, you're going to be so confused, let me
Mm.
tell you. Well, but again, that's for another day. Where was I with this? I have to ask you, what did you think about the voice cast for the movie?
There's a lot of big, heavy name. There's a lot of big names in this one actually,
Hmm.
like Jackie Chan, Ice Cube, like just
Obviously, Seth Rogen.
Giancarlo.
Hmm.
I did not realize they have John Cena in this. I did not even realize that was him.
Yeah, that's him. Paul
Paul
Rudd is
Rudd,
in
yeah,
this as
Paul
well.
Rudd. Like they have some big names in this. I did not expect that to be honest when I came
Mhm.
into it. But
Yeah, but what surprised me is that they announced this big cast, and I'm like, wait, where are the Turtles actors? And then I found out, oh, they're actually teenagers. And to be honest, not all of the teens are that well known. Like I think Leo's was in a Gumball, like what's the name of the show? Gumball's Magical World.
let's see.
The Wonderful World of Gumball, something like that. I don't remember. But anyway,
Yeah,
he was
the
in that.
Amazing World of Gumball. What it was.
The
Yeah,
Amazing World of Gumball. Yes, there you go. So,
yeah, he
so
was Gumball.
basically, mhm, yeah. So so he's kind of like he's been in stuff, but I think the other three I never really heard of them from anything. This might have been their first real gig. And like, for all intents and purposes, I think they're all great, and they do have this different takes on the characters. It's not really spoilers yet, but like while Leo is the leader, straight man, played a bit more. He's a bit more nervous. He's a bit more. He gets freaked out a bit more. He's a bit more anxious about stuff, and he needs to overcome that, which I think is interesting for a leader.
Mm.
I think this is the first time Mikey doesn't have like the, you know, surfer dude voice. Like, until this point, each one of his voices had was that cowabunga dude. This really growly thing to him. So this is the first one time he doesn't really sound like that. Raph's anger is downplayed. They do talk about the fact that he has anger issues, but he's not as gruff or as much of a loner as other versions.
Mm.
And Donnie, in a twist that I kind of like, has the most high pitched voice out of all of them.
Yeah, it's fine. Like,
And
yeah, nothing wrong with that.
nothing wrong, but that's the thing. It's different takes on the characters in terms of even more different than probably the most different they've ever been compared to the originals. And but I think it works for their characters, right?
Yeah.
That Leo is the leader, but he's also anxious. Mikey's like the clown, but he also has like kind of a down to earth voice, and
Mm.
it works well with them. I really like I really like these kids as the turtles, and also in terms of the celebrities, I think all of them are really well cast. Like when I heard Jackie Chan as Splinter, that's just so right. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
that,
no, you're right.
and especially when he starts talking and they make that, as the fiance said, a typical Chinese parent. It works way too well.
It does.
Mm.
It really
And
does.
mhm. So that's I think that this is the point where we say we recommend it. We enjoyed what we saw. I think I liked it a bit more than Wolf did, but
Yeah,
overall,
like I said, it's not my favorite Turtles thing. I think that spot is still currently held by The Last Ronin. And I
mhm,
think if the movie for that comes out and they do it justice, I think that movie will probably end up being my
hopefully they
favorite
will.
Turtles thing. So,
Yeah, if
but this was
they
still
do
good.
that. hmm Again, and again, comparing this to Last Ronin is kind of like comparing,
Well, yeah, it's
the
definitely
animated
apples to oranges,
adventure
right?
to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's still good, and we recommend it. So now we're gonna jump into spoilers. So
Mhm.
spoilers in 3, 2, 1. You're still here? Okay. Now we can talk about some of the changes. I think this is the first time TMNT really dealt with racism, which to some extent is really fitting for a franchise like this, but it's
Is it
also
racism or speciesism? I guess, like, allegory wise, it would be racism, technically, yeah.
it's
But
let's go with well, let's say
technically,
when
it's speciesism.
keep in mind one of the first lines in this movie is which is basically a preconceived notion by our old parent, but that's how we were raised, so we're gonna follow that.
Mm.
That's like as soon the movie starts with this is like, yeah, no, this is kind of, I see what you're doing there. That's racism to some, like you're tackling this issue.
Fair, fair.
And to be honest, it is interesting because up until this point in versions, like besides maybe the original comics, whenever Peter Laird decides to continue them, where the turtles are known to humanity by that point, they never really, the turtles were always like in hiding of the humans for the most part,
Mm.
right? Here
Yeah.
and there. But so I think it is kind of interesting to explore this topic, especially in today's day and age, and to explore it with these characters who are ninjas, so they have a reason to not be seen by the humans. But what if there's more to it? Like, what in previous versions, Splinter trains them to be ninjas because it's either what he wants them to protect themselves. And in the original comics, it's not even for that. It just trains them to essentially avenge his master.
Mm.
Here he basically does it. Here he's still doing this for self-defense, but he's also mostly teaching them ninjutsu because he doesn't want them to be captured by humans because of his own experience, what he went through when they were babies.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I have to ask you, what did you think about how they handled the backstory?
I didn't see anything wrong with that. I thought it was like it's definitely different. It's not like the backstory we're used to, I suppose, that we normally get, but I mean, they're definitely also not doing like TMNT in a way that you would normally get either, which I think works best for. I think they did the backstory in a way that works best for this movie, right?
Because
Because
the
this movie
funny
is
thing about this
focusing
movie.
more on the mutant part as well, right? Because there's so many more
Mhm.
mutants than I mean, I'm sure all these mutants have appeared in Turtles at some point or another as an enemy
Oh
or
yeah,
something,
like
but
let's say we covered the entirety of 2012. You've seen plenty of them in that show.
well, I don't remember Genghis Frog or
Genghis Frog, I know for a fact. I'm not sure if it's exactly him, but the one I remember there was in one of the episodes where Mikey finds the colony of them, and he's voiced by that one dude you hate. I forgot his name.
I do not remember.
Let me find. I'm wikiing it, but
I
Bebop
have
and
I
Rocksteady,
have I
so
have
and
that is no longer in my brain anymore. I have like blanked that out apparently. That's how much I hated it. I
yeah,
guess.
but
But yeah, like
but
I
otherwise,
don't
you
remember
also
Genghis
have
Frog. I definitely have not seen. I feel like Ray Fillet. That one is definitely not one I've seen.
no
And then
Ray Fillet is really like scratching it, but there was a Mando Gecko,
yeah,
for
Mondo I
example.
remember. Yeah, we've seen
Yeah,
Mondo.
yeah,
And
we've seen Mando, and we've
Superfly
seen
was
like
interesting because normally is that like I think that's what Baxter turns into, right? Like he's not a separate thing, right? Or is
yeah,
that
and for the record, there was it was called the Punk Frogs,
mm,
and it was John Hader, yeah, or John Heder who does the voice, and I remember you were like, "No, I hate this guy's voice."
yeah, I do not remember.
Mm. Well,
I have blanked on
regardless,
that one.
okay. Go back to when we did 2012 season 3.
Yeah.
You'll find it there. So,
Old Wolf, call
uh,
Old Wolf out.
yeah, but basically, who are we talking about? So, Mando Gecko, you remember there
Yeah.
was a Rayful is scratching the surface a bit, but yeah, with Superfly, that's interesting because in the original comic, Baxter Stockman doesn't have any transformation, and then in the '80s
Oh.
cartoon, not only did they transform him from black guy to a white guy, they also gave him the fly mutation. Here, they just decided, you know what? What if the fly was like his pet and we'll like separate them? That like he's like the OG mutant.
I think
And
that
I
works
think,
though.
yeah, that works. That definitely works because that way you can also start the movie with something that the fans know. Because like if you say Baxter Stockman, it's already like, okay, I recognize this. I know what this is. Cool. And, but if you're not a Turtles fan, you're also kind of just interested in who is this Baxter and why he's important. And this is something they can play off of in future movies.
Mhm.
So so overall, a good idea, and also just Ice Cube just crushes this role.
Yeah, he's a really good pick for this one. Like Jackie Chan is Splinter. Like I don't think you could have picked a better person for the role, to be fair.
Hmm. Hmm. And it doesn't have anything to do with the fact that whenever he talks, I'm thinking about the boss from the Jump Street movies
Mm.
because it's also Ice Cube.
No, fair.
Mm. Sadly,
I'm
no joke about someone fucking his daughter, but what can you do? It's a kids movie.
I'm reading through the voice cast HC, and my opinion of this movie has plummeted. I hate it now.
Okay, who is there that you don't like?
They apparently there's a YouTuber in this voice cast HC. I'm
Of
upset.
course there is. Okay, pack up. We're out. But who's the YouTuber? I
Mr.
don't remember that.
Beast.
Mr. Beast is in this movie?
Yes,
Didn't
as
know.
Times Square guy. Don't ask
Oh,
me.
okay. Fair. Fair. Actually, you know what? What if it's the guy who calls Splinter out for being a rat? Maybe you know something. Then you know what? The movie paints him badly. He's an asshole.
Yeah, but
Though
he's in the movie
interesting,
though, and
interesting
it's
though.
a bad
The
movie.
guy
Ugh.
in the climax, the guy who helps Splinter out, the guy who helps them, bring the thing to the turtles at the end.
The first
That's
guy?
in the climax, the one that's in the credits is known as the good human. So,
Yeah, the
like
the one who puts the one who like starts off with the bag, right? That guy. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
So
that's
when
Kevin Eastman. Wild.
yeah, Yeah, Kevin Eastman, one of the Ninja Turtles co-creators.
Yeah, neat.
hmm So, so basically, the director did say that he wanted to give Kevin Eastman kind of like a Stan Lee cameo. So, and it kind of made me think, damn, imagine if it was like the Avengers movie, and then there's like you see Nick Fury and they go, and then it's like Excelsior, son, let me help you with this. That would be amazing. But what can you do? Stan Lee is no longer with us. We miss you.
Mm.
So back to the movie. Mr. Beast aside, because no one even remembers he's in the movie apparently. Um,
I
so,
wouldn't have
so
known if it wasn't for the
I think
wiki.
interestingly enough, Leatherhead in this movie is a female this time.
Yeah, I mean, she doesn't
Not
really
really.
play as much of a role though.
Mhm. Not a big role, but it isn't. And but I did find it interesting that it's just kind of like there, and it's like you know what? There's no big deal about it. It's just Leatherhead does isn't really a name that's like that you can know what the sex of that is. So you know
Mm.
what? Why not? Leatherhead is a female in this version.
I see.
Cool.
Again, nothing wrong with it. It works. It's whatever. It's like it is what it is. That's fine.
Mm, Yeah, definitely. Other things that I kind of want to talk about. Can we talk about the sound? Talking about all the mutants and stuff. What did you think about about the fight scene with the car chase?
I really liked that. I thought that
No,
was
but
good.
the song choice is so
Oh,
is so good by how what the hell like if you told me there would be any movie which would have a car chase going on and you're like and I say hey
no, like I will
I
admit
wouldn't
that's one of
believe
the
you.
things that got. Yeah, now thinking more on it, yeah, that's definitely one of the things that got me to laugh a lot because that's the kind of comedy I'm into. Terrible
and,
comedy like that. There we go.
and I do like also that there's the point where like where they attack Donnie with the staff and he goes my stick betrayed me no.
Oh yeah.
In general, I really like Donnie in this movie too.
No,
Like
he has good lines.
Mikey will always be my favorite, but I like what they did with Donnie in this movie. And in general, it's also kind of nice to see a Ninja Turtles movie which doesn't give Raph the main arc, so to speak. Like,
Mm.
don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that all of them did that, but it's usually a lot of those movies are Raph being the loner and butting heads with Leo and stuff. So it's nice to see
They didn't really
something that's
have
more.
any. I mean, you kind of can't. It's a movie, but there was not really like it was definitely an arc for the turtles as a group more than it was for any individual turtle. Like, yeah,
I would say maybe Leo a
I wouldn't
bit.
even give that. No, really. I would say there's more
Uh,
of an arc for Splinter than there is any of the turtles.
yeah, well, with the turtles, it's more like you said, for them collectively as a group, which I can get because it's called the Teenage Mutant Ninja
And
Turtles.
again,
But
to be fair, like it's four characters. It's hard to give four characters an arc in one movie.
when especially you need to develop, because there's Splinter's arc. April also has an arc, and
I would definitely
the
say
other.
Splinter and April have more of an arc than the turtles themselves do, as far as character
Mhm.
growth goes. Which
Yeah,
that's
but
fine.
we are talking individuals. The turtles do have an arc as themselves, and
Yeah.
and also April kind of goes on the same arc as the turtles, which is basically doing the right thing for the wrong reason and realizing that you're doing that for the wrong reason,
Yeah.
and coming to terms with that. But yeah, Splinter has a. I think though from the turtles themselves, they might have like mini arcs, less so Raph and Mikey, but Donnie and Leo. Donnie less so than Leo, but Leo has more this arc of because when he's starting out, he's taking the role of the leader a bit too seriously to the point they even mock him that he said that he sounds like Batman because of
Mhm.
course.
Yeah.
By the way, the Ninja Turtles did cross over with Batman, so it's not out of left field. This is totally a thing. This is not just a pop cultural thing.
Hmm.
Batman is part of the canon. So there's that, but also it is that he's starting off as like how do I say this, a geeky leader, and he grows up to be a more confident leader who actually knows what he's doing, and he knows how to play to each of his teams, each of his team's strength.
Yeah.
Well, I can appreciate. Again, it's not the focus. It's more about their collective arc. But I am okay with this because again, a lot of the movies just kind of put Raphael as the character within arc, and like
Well, I
I
think
like Craft just fine for the record, but also come on, people.
the thing about TMNT in general, right, is that we never we always get a flashback to the start, but we never really fully see the start, right? Like something that this movie does that is definitely different from a lot of other TMNT stuff is that you see their first fight in this movie. Like this is the first time they've
The
ever
very
fought
first
any
fight,
goons ever, right? Anywhere.
yeah. 2012 did this too,
Oh, okay,
but
it
yeah,
did.
I
All right,
get
fair enough. But
it.
even 2012 felt like it was still like, to me at least, if I remember it correctly, and it has been a while to be fair. 2012 felt like it was like there was still kind of an established thing for the turtles. This one felt like you're seeing this at the beginning, really, in a way, right? And that you're
I
seeing their
think
first fight, you're seeing them kind of experience the world for the first time, and it's not just, you don't see them in a flashback young, like this is them, right?
I tell you what, I think 2012 did this too, but I would argue that the Mutant Mayhem might have a younger version of them. Like if in
Mm,
2012 they're supposed to be 15 when they start, here they might be 13, 14.
mm. Fair.
Which makes sense. They are starting. They are their dream is to go to high school. This is
Yeah,
like you know 13, 14 sounds more fitting for that age group, I suppose.
yeah.
And And then also one I do like though that kind of like they're kind of making fun of the Michael Bay movies where they learn to be ninja. Splinter teaches himself to be a ninja master through a book.
Well,
Still one of the dumbest things
well,
ever.
not just a book, through a book and through a bunch of Jackie Chan movies, by the way. I see you. Old and
And
old martial arts movies as
no,
well.
no, no. Wait. No, no, no. What I mean in the Michael Bay movies, they do this thing that he finds this shitty ass book and it's like, I'm going to train myself and then I'm going to train the turtle. It's like you became a ninja master by reading a shitty book with illustrations from Game and Watch for like a few months and you're a master, but then you need to teach your sons this for like 15 years and they're still not masters.
Listen, he
Sure.
found how to be a ninja master for idiots. He found the for idiots, guide.
But that's the thing. That's the thing. The turtles should pick up on it just as quickly.
Nah.
Yeah. But anyway, so I kind of like here that they actually train via videos because I would argue that you can learn better through a video rather than a book. And also, you do see that they're all training with a kind of like at some point you see all of them training with a bow staff. We all know that the bow is Donnie's weapon, but you see all of them trying to like try the other weapons and everything, and it comes into the idea that each one of them found a weapon that's fitting him the most to
Mhm.
some degree.
Well, it was
Though
also a nice little nod too, as well, right? That during this little montage, they show you a bunch of different, old martial arts films as well, like either
yeah,
Eastern and Western, really. And some, and
mhm.
one or two of them, at least one or two of them, I'm aware of, were definitely Jackie Chan films as well. Which
Actually, in
funny, haha.
The scene where Splinter saves the turtles is essentially directed to look like a Jackie Chan action movie.
Yeah, well, no, that's 100%. Like that's something else I was going to mention as well. I love that because they did get Jackie Chan to play Splinter. I think it makes so much sense. Like I was sitting there wondering if they're gonna have him fight, number one, but two, if they did, or are they gonna make are they gonna like have Splinter do kind of Jackie Chan style of fighting, like using the environment and stuff like that, right? And then we finally see him
It-
do it, and it's like, yep, that's great. You did good with that one. Proud. That's exactly what you should be doing. I
Yep.
feel.
And I do like when he tells them the story, when, like that he does make fun of the idea of, because I was older, I became older rat, and because you were babies, you were baby turtles. When you think about it, it makes perfect sense. And it's like this is some bullshit science there, but the way he says it, it's like, yeah, sure, the movie's aware that it's dumb, so might as well have fun with it.
It doesn't linger on it either. It doesn't try to give you science mumbo jumbo. It's just like, this is the reason. Is Splinter
And
right? Probably not, but it doesn't matter.
by the by, you gotta love where in the scene where he takes the baby turtles up to the ground and the guy starts yelling at Ratman, Ratman, and there's just a guy in a SpongeBob mascot there for some reason. It's like, I see you, Nickelodeon.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
Where
there's
and I
so
ask you
many
again,
references in this
eh,
film as
and
well.
I ask again, where is my Sonic and Ninja Turtles crossover? Paramount has the rights to the Sonic movies, and IDW has the comic rights for both. Fucking give me that.
Never.
By the by,
Never.
because Donnie is a weeb in this movie. Do you know what IDW announced as a Ninja Turtles crossover just now?
Is there an Attack on Titan ID Ninja Turtles crossover? Okay,
No,
I was gonna say that
it's
would be
an anime.
wild. I'm sure it's an
It's an
anime, but I
no,
have
no,
no
no,
clue which one it would be.
Naruto.
Not that makes a lot of sense. Actually,
It-
thinking I should have guessed that one first.
like it's one of those. Oh, it's because they're both ninjas. Ha ha ha! I see what you're doing there. But it's also, I guess that can make sense.
It makes a lot of sense. I mean, they are both ninjas, so
Mhm. Well, either way, back to movies. So you said you caught on a lot of references. Which ones did you?
I
Which ones
mean,
did you?
they're constantly talking about Marvel films and DC films in this movie. The turtles themselves are it's like there's so many like oh man like that thing in Marvel or like that thing in other pop culture thing here, or other insert pop culture thing here that recently happened. It's tons of stuff like that, right?
Actually, I love the scene where they go back to the lair and Splinter is like, I see that you've been hiding a lot of like earth stuff in under your bed.
Mm.
So he tries to have the get them to
Oh
he
yeah,
tries to
there's the
throw this party, and there are like the actual live action images of Chris Pine and Chris Evans and
mm-hmm.
and all the and
Little
he goes,
cutouts of them. Yeah,
yeah, I just lost it at this
no,
point.
that was funny.
Mm.
That one
And
actually
he's
got
like
me
he's
too.
trying
Yeah.
to and he's trying to find like, hi, I'm obviously I'm the best Chris, and it's like, uh-huh.
No, that one was genuinely funny though. Yeah.
Mhm. Trying to think what it's what did you think about April in this
Yeah,
movie?
we've not talked about her. I liked her. It's different,
Don't you?
but I liked that.
No, I like it. I like how they managed to keep the because again it wasn't what she was originally, but most people again from coming into it from the '80s show remember that April is a reporter in that show,
Mhm.
and then later versions. I think since 2012 they've been leaning to the idea that maybe April should be a teen too, because why would an adult hang out with teenagers? So they found a way to make her both a teen and also a reporter. As a kid who wants to try to be a reporter in the school, for the school program,
Mhm.
but she has stage fright. And that scene I'm still kind of iffy on, not necessarily iffy, but
to be clear, we're talking about the puke scene, the first puke scene,
yeah,
not the second one, because the second one, she did it a little bit and then it moved on very quickly. Thank fucking god.
yeah,
The first
yeah.
one though, they made that go on for too fucking long and turned that into too much of a thing. Someone thought that was so. Someone in the writing team thought like, yeah, this is fucking
I
hilarious.
did,
The kids are gonna love this. And I'm
I
sitting there
did,
like, nope, skip. It's still
I did.
going. Skip.
I did laugh a bit when she tells them that she was memed and somebody used their sound puking as a zombie sound. I thought that was kind of funny.
I was just no. I skipped this. I'm
Okay.
I'm sorry. This
Hey,
this is there is two bits. This one and the one where the turtles are just like in a group. Like oh fuck, where was it at? It was I can't remember now. It was just them like saying a bunch of garbled stuff. You could barely understand them, but they were just going on and on and on and on and on and on.
And is that the point where April tells them, if you think people are going to like you like that, then you are wrong, and then they just keep
Yeah.
doing that?
Yes, it's
Yeah,
that
okay.
one. It was that
Which
bit
I
and this throw up bit. It just went on for too long, in
which
my opinion.
to be fair, with the tell just mumbling and jumbling, I think this is part of the idea that they're
I
supposed to be
get
like
it.
that. They're
But
supposed to be,
that was
but
like one of the few
it,
things that's like, yeah, all right, I'm not into this. This bit has gone on for too long, and
yeah.
then you stop, and then you start again and keep going on for too long, and it's like, okay, please move on.
Yeah, actually, there was a bit, because when I saw this movie when it came out first, and then when my fiance came to visit, I took her to see it because
Hmm.
she was interested, and then when we were about to get to that bit, she actually leaned over and asked me, "Is this the puke scene?" And I'm like, "What did you?" And she's like, "No, Tumblr just gave a warning that there's a puke scene in the movie." So I'm like, oh boy, it caught on that far,
That's when you know it's a meme, and probably
huh?
not a good meme.
But I did like that, she is getting through it, and again, she did have a mini arc that she managed to get.
Oh, fair.
She
I agreed. I
still
like that.
still a bit, but you know what? It was cool for her to actually do it. And speaking of, one of my favorite bits in the movie is that when she's guiding them to how to find Superfly, and they're trying to track down all the people who are related to him, and there's this montage of them
No, that
going
was
to all the
so good. Like the side scrolling montage of them doing all the
yeah
different fights, and it features each one of the turtles. That was
yeah.
good. I
Yeah,
really
that was
loved
good, and
that.
also like there's like the circling shot where they also do that. That was such a creative and
Mm.
good looking. It was really well done.
No, there was a lot of like what I felt like really creative, things they did stylization wise for different shots and different scenes, and like some of the montage stuff, like some really good stuff that made it work really well, and that I think like kept things. I guess I'd say kept things moving, but also kept things like feeling very dynamic a lot of the times too, right?
Hmm?
You can definitely
Agree.
see the Into the Spider Verse influences 100%. But again, you can also definitely see that they took a lot of that and went in their own direction with it as well.
And I also love this is like one of those silly things, but when in the first time the turtles are, fighting the group of people who stole April's bike, I just they didn't need to do that, but there's the point where Mikey gets stuck in the car and the radio turns out, and you hear the Vanilla Ice rap from the second movie.
Hmm.
Like you just hear the go ninja, go, and I'm like, hey, I see what you did there. It's like again, they didn't need to, but it's a fun thing to put in there.
I from that first fight though, I loved how it started with like them all just kind of like fucking up horribly, and Mikey getting
Yeah.
no, it was Donnie, wasn't it? Getting
Donnie gets up by,
stabbed in the leg by
and Leo is like, oh my god, what? No. Yeah, that was a fun. And I also like actually when April finds them and she's like, "Oh, these masks are really good." And then like just that quick revelation where she goes, "That's your skin. That's your skin." Like that's a legit good. The voice acting is great in this movie. And again,
no, agreed.
I don't think April's voice actress has done like. I don't think she's a name. If she is, then I
She's
apologize.
definitely been in stuff, like looking it up real quick, but not a lot. There's nothing that she's been in that I 100% know her from, other than Inside Out 2. Apparently, she was in, or she's in.
Oh, okay, but that was after. What was
Yes.
she in Inside Out too?
She was Envy, apparently, the voice for Envy.
Oh, okay, that's cool. Inside Out 2
Uh,
is a good movie. So,
yeah, no, fair.
um, so I'm trying to think. Honestly, one thing I don't really like, and again, this is like the one thing I'm kind of on and off with the 2012 myself, even though that's my personal favorite version. Not a fan how they keep making April the actual love interest to one of the turtles. And
Yeah,
like I get in 2012 they usually play it off as a joke, which is why I don't really mind it. But here it seems like they're actually trying to play it off for real, even though the show does kind of downplay it. So I hope it was just kind of a thing to get them going rather than actually make it a thing.
Mm,
Because, not a fan.
fair, agreed.
Keep your bestiality away from my Ninja Turtles. But trying to think what else, if there's anything to say. Anything you want to point out?
Oh man, I mean, like other than the having Splinter do like Jackie Chan's style of fighting, I thought that was really good, and that was a really nice nod, especially since you got Jackie Chan to be Splinter in this. Um, like we just talked about it, but like the montage for their different fights, and it's featuring each one of each one of the different turtles, and it be side scrolling. That was also extremely good. Really love that.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh,
mm,
in the final fight, actually, there's a point where where Super Duper Fly, as they call him, throws the cars at them, and they go, "He's gonna run out of cars eventually," and then they see a parking lot. Oh, come on!
yeah, that was
I
funny
loved
too.
that. That was great. That I remember that was the point where when it happened, I was actually cracking up. That was awesome.
No,
Um,
I also loved a lot of the different other mutants as well. Like, we'd mentioned it like the car scene. I believe it's Wingnuts the bat, right?
yeah,
I loved the little tidbit of like, hey, you guys better, like, she comes up flying next to the van that they're driving and everything, trying to get away from the rest of the mutants, and she comes up like, hey, you guys better stop this, otherwise Superfly's gonna be here. He's not gonna be nice. And there's like, you're not being nice. He's gonna be even he's gonna be even less nice. I thought that was also
yeah.
pretty good.
hmm Yeah, and the
And then
voice actors
immediately
here.
he crashes into the van.
Yeah. By the way, one joke that I think might have been taken a bit too far, but I think the payoff was kind of funny, was with the milking.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of just a side thing. Like, it was just dumb, but it's fine. I think
Yeah.
it's a dumb that fits this movie, right?
Yes, definitely. Let me ask you this. In a way, Splinter and Superfly are kind of mirrors of each other.
Yeah.
What would you think that that in a few years there are going to be people out there who go, Superfly had a point.
I mean, in what way?
Mm. In the way of, oh, people weren't nice to me because I'm different. I need to kill them.
I don't think so. I think the movie's
Mm.
pretty clear that, like, hey, this is not the right way to go about things, right?
Yeah.
So I doubt you'll ever see. And plus, like, because it's so different, because they're mutants, right? I don't think you'll ever see a thing of, people looking back. It's like, no, no, he kind of had a point, though. I don't think you'll ever see that.
Yeah, because Splinter's arc is basically when you see Superfly, it's like, wait a minute, this guy, and I see where I was wrong here. So just just thinking out loud.
Hmm. Fair enough.
Um, so, and another thing, I guess, just to to bring us to the end, what do you think about the turtles going to school by the end?
I kind of like that. I think it'll be different, especially if the show's going to be continuing on with stuff like that, of them being like within the quote unquote human world and just being more of a thing. I'm interested in that. I think that'll be fun and very different, right? Instead of just seeing the sewers all the time, like we actually get to see them hanging out with other humans and stuff like that. I think that'll be
What
fun.
I'm gonna tell you, what I'm gonna tell you from the show is that they do touch on it, that they are well known in
Touch on
they're
it
like,
doesn't mean they do it, and I'm less interested now, I will admit.
well, fuck. I was trying to get you a bit excited for the show, and then he's like, nah, actually, no, I don't like it. No.
I mean, I have to watch it. We're gonna cover it, right? But like,
Yeah.
I will admit, them not going into like, oh, they're in school, let's focus on that bit and run with that. Them not running with that, I think is a little bit of a letdown personally.
Well, I'm not
If
saying that
that's
they are running with the idea that the turtles are known and interact with
okay.
humans. And maybe not necessarily the school thing less so, but they are
Well,
interacting with
I
humans.
don't think they have to be in school necessarily, but I think it'd be nice to see little tidbits of it here or there. I don't want to see, hey, it's TMNT, but school life. I don't think
Yeah.
that we don't need that. I think it's fine without that, right? Like, If you want slice of life, anime, there's slice of life anime that exists. Go watch that. I don't need TMNT slice of life, right? But
Though
I,
to be honest, if they continue the show for more seasons and they decide to do a school arc or like in the sequel to this movie, I'm game. I want to see
I
this.
think they should do some stuff with it though, because again, it's just so different from what we normally get, and I think that's what they should be focused on is like how different it can be, because they have this very different start and they have this very different setup, but it still
Which
feels TMNT even though it's different.
Yeah, and to be honest, the ending to me initially, I thought it was one of those things that I was like, "Is this going too far? Is this going too far from like the idea of the ninja turtles, right? Because if now they just go to school, that they are not really ninjas per se. But the more time went by, the more I just kind of started accepting that. It's like, you know what, it can be cool, they can still like be, see, because ninja is more about is less about the secret and more about, the the fight form itself, right? It
Hmm.
doesn't have to be like in secret,
Yeah.
so okay, I can roll with that. Sure, why not? Let the
Well,
turtles go to school and have their fun.
it's also another thing of like it doesn't really matter, right? If you want the turtles being ninjas and being more secretive and stuff like that, like you have plenty of stuff that exists that do that, right?
Alright.
And that stuff
Yeah, right,
isn't
so
lesser or gone just because this exists. Like that's always a thing to
of
remember too.
course. Yeah, it was just like, just to show
But no, I
that,
get you.
you know, the first impressions compared to once you actually let something sit down and you're like, oh, okay, ain't this all that much. This is actually all right.
Like
And
speaking as more of an outsider, it's definitely it piques my interest more than them just doing the same old Ninja Turtles thing. My opinion personally.
yeah, and also this is another thing that Michael Bay tries to do in the second movie, and they just ignored it completely.
Well,
Fuck those movies anyway. um,
fair.
um, so I did kind of forget to mention it, but a secondary villain to this, and we see her since the start, and she shows up, is this lady, last name Utram.
Yeah, yeah. Cynthia
In ter-
Utram.
yeah, so Utrams, to those who don't know, were the inspiration for Krang in the original comic. They are the type of aliens who created the mutagen.
Mm.
And we saw them also. They appeared in the 2003 show. They were also in 2012, where the Krang are like, Utram defects to some degree. The Utrams have been around here and there in this franchise. What's interesting to me though is now we kind of see this lady who with last name Utram, and what she's interested is the mutagen itself for some reason we don't really know.
Yet.
And so I think this is a really interesting sequel bait that she's trying to catch the turtles throughout the thing because she wants the mutagen for herself, but then
Mm.
we don't really know why. And considering she has that last name, it's probably implies that they have some sort of an idea of what to do with her.
Or yeah,
So
like she definitely seems like she might be connected. Like they'll probably reveal at some point that even if she herself isn't one of the Ultramalians, that she'll be connected to them, right? Or that like
like
her organization will be connected to them.
Yeah, because if she's kind of I think one of the reasons she's terrified about this is just a theory for myself that the reason she wanted Baxter's research is what if Baxter Stockman is actually onto something when he created that mutagen? Maybe it's something that shouldn't be, in other hands. Maybe he's essentially leaking in. Maybe he's a past worker, and
Well, they
he's
said he
trying
he
to.
used to work for Utram. Like that's where he
Yeah,
used to work.
so Yeah, so what if he's actually leaking some sort of a secret that shouldn't be out by creating this mutagen? There are a lot of interesting ideas there as to what exactly does this mutagen mean,
Hmm.
and and then of course we have the big tease in the end where we see Shredder,
Yep.
which is also interesting because if
The
you know
Shredder,
the
not Shredder.
turtles.
The Shredder HC. Get it right.
Well, who cares? It's Shredder, Dash Shredder, Evil Cheese Grater. you know who he is. And so, for one, another thing I like is that it's kind of nice to have a Ninja Turtles movie where Shredder is not the main villain. I know TMNT, I know the third movie and TMNT exist, but fuck you. And and then also teasing him for like that, it's also kind of bringing up the question of what is the Shredder's connection to Splinter, if there is any connection.
I don't think they'll do one, right? Because it doesn't make any sense for there to be one this time.
Yeah, but that's also the thing that I find interesting, because this is another thing where it's new, because in every other version, the Shredder and Splinter are the one that have the most rivalry. The Turtles are just in the picture because Splinter is their dad, so to speak. So, so that's what sparks up, and that's what sparks this rivalry. But what is a Ninja Turtle story where Shredder and Splinter might not know each other?
I mean,
I'm interested. I'm
yeah, I'm
interested in
interested
seeing.
because it gives it's definitely like there's a lot of room to explore there now. There's a lot of different things they could potentially do, and you don't know what that could be. So I'm interested. I'm interested to see what they come up with. Hopefully, it's really good, but I don't think it'll be the end all be all if it isn't, right?
No, of course not. If anything, I accepted that this is like a very different take
Hmm.
from what we're used to,
Yeah.
and again, I think as the years went by, we started seeing a different, because like let's take Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for example. That's a bit different too, and at first I was like a bit, you know, when it started, but the more I gave it a chance, the more I realized, you know what, this is fun in its own way. There's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with it.
Agreed.
So I'm also interested in seeing what kind of thing they can do with Shredder in this continuity,
Yeah.
and
Agreed.
especially because I think in other movies there's this thing where Shredder is the first villain, and then the sequel kind of puts them up against mutants as if they are meeting their match. Here, I think it's interesting that we deal with the mutant part first, where they talk about the movie is more about them being mutants than ninjas, and meeting other mutants, and now them meeting their match is going to be with another ninja master.
I will argue that that's one thing I like in this movie's favor is that Shredder's not the beginning, Shredder's the end game. Because I feel that's the way it should be.
Mm,
Because Shredder
yeah,
doesn't feel like a beginning
I
villain. Shredder feels like an end game villain as far as I'm concerned
I
personally.
will say, who knows if he's even end game? He could
Well, I
be,
mean, even if he's not, it's not something that I think should always be the first thing they deal with personally. Because
Mhm.
Shredder doesn't feel like, hey, he's the opening act. He feels like he's either middle or ending act. You know what I mean?
Which is actually funny, because I'm not sure how much you know this, but in the very first issue of the comics, they actually killed Shredder.
Oh, never mind.
Because Peter Laird and Kevin Eastman, they never intended on doing more than one issue, and then suddenly that one issue blows up, and it's like, shit, we need to continue this. And later on, they did bring Shadow back and everything.
Mhm.
And then when the animated series started popping up, it's like, okay, we can't really kill him. We need our main bad guy here. So yeah. So,
Fair enough.
though, to be honest, I would also like if, as opposed to other movies, is in Shredder won't go out like a bitch, because he
I mean,
usually does.
it's one of those things of like Shredder's iconic, so it's like, oh, we gotta have him because he's iconic. He's a thing for TMNT.
Like
But again,
he's
like
the villain.
which
It's
is
kind of like
fair. I get it.
it's kind of like having a Batman villain and having the Joker as your villain. Like
Yeah.
this is the one.
Again, which is fair. I get it. But I think Batman included, right? There are other really good villains that you can utilize and
Yeah,
use in really fun ways if you give it a
of
shot.
course.
They don't, the Joker or Shredder don't have to be your opening acts.
Oh yeah,
And I would
definitely.
argue that at times, especially for TMNT, it's better if Shredder isn't your opening act. I would say even
Yeah,
for Batman, I think it's better if Joker isn't your opening act.
yeah, definitely. I agree there.
Like
To be honest,
personally,
there.
that's something I liked about the Nolan films, right? Joker wasn't the opening act. Now Joker wasn't
Yeah.
the ending act, sure, but Joker wasn't the opening act, and I think that makes it all that better for it, right?
Mhm. Yeah, so I agree there, and I'm interested in seeing what they do with Shredder in this universe whenever we get
Agreed.
there. But before we get the sequel, we did get a TV show which will come next week. We're gonna talk about it,
Hmm.
and we're also getting a game in this universe. So my question for you is, what do you feel about this particular version being the one that spawns all of those spin-offs? Because this has never really had, maybe with Rise, but the Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie isn't necessarily a theatrical one. So it never really happened that one version was just like the one that's, on the big screen, on the small screen in video games, that kind of stuff. They never really had like
I mean,
this one which jumped around.
well, Turtles has always been kind of like in the background. They've gotten stuff here or there, but nothing really major, right? They've always been kind of that more niche franchise that's like, yeah, it's popular, it has its, its following, but it's not Marvel, it's not DC, it's Turtles. Like they're big, but they're not that big, right? You get me?
Well, to be honest, the Turtles had their video game history, right? And
No, no, they've always
Turtles.
had their video game history. Like I remember the old Super Nintendo game.
What
I
I
grew up
mean
on that one.
though, yeah, but what I mean though is, usually you would have the games that are like, there were the games that were based on the 80s cartoon, for example. But
Hmm.
what I mean though is that they never really like, 2012, for example, that was
Hmm.
a show, and it had a few video games set up in the 2012 universe. But otherwise, they were just kind of like spin-offs that were around, but you didn't really need to get to play the video games. You could argue the 2012 video games aren't even canon to the show.
Hmm.
Here, here we're talking about, the movie, the show, the games all having the same continuity and kind of taking place at different stages of one another. What do you think about that?
I
Is what
think
I'm
that's fine.
asking.
I mean, I'm always going to say, right, as long as you don't need to watch or play one in order to get something that's going on in the other, then I
Mhm.
see nothing wrong with that. I think it's perfectly fine.
Yeah,
I
agreed.
think for people who are fans of it and really want to get into it, it's just more stuff for them to love, right?
Hmm. Yeah, and to be honest, I'm looking forward to seeing what the game is all about now that, if we're doing that, because
Sure.
honestly, I would also like to, to have a TMNT game it seems like this is one that does something a bit different than just your traditional beat 'em up. And not to discredit Turtles in Time or Shredder's Revenge, they're both great, right? But I would kind of like to see a triple A TMNT done right. I know that there was the Mutants in New York, I think it was
Mhm.
the Platinum Games one, but I heard it's like a bit iffy. I don't remember.
If I'm not mistaken, it was fine, but yeah, like it was definitely like your kind of B tier game. Like this is something Platinum did to pay the bills, kind of like their Transformers game and their Legend of Korra game.
Mhm.
Fine games,
Which
like
you can, which you
It's
can
still
no,
Platinum, right? But
which you
it's
can no longer get because Activision lost the rights.
mm.
If I may quote a YouTuber named Mac McMuscles, Activision, fuck 'em.
But yeah, it's definitely one of those things of like um train of thought go by.
Yeah.
But yeah,
By the
no,
way,
yeah, 100%.
yeah, but by the by, if there's anything you want to talk about with this movie and how it spirals, the other stuff, you can go right ahead. I need to show you the Out of the Shadows game. Hold on,
Oh boy,
just talk for a second.
just
I'll.
talk. What am I gonna? Me, I definitely don't co-host professionally, quote unquote, on a podcast. Asking me to talk about things, what?
It's
I
not the
mean,
first time I'm asking you to do this, but
it's
you
not.
need to see
But
those.
I
Okay, here you go. Just check those designs out. I'm sending some. If you want to put us in the thumbnail, then by all means. But these are gonna give you nightmares. Okay, hold
oh
on,
boy, I
it's
gotta add
coming.
things.
Hmm. There you go. Just here we go.
Oh yeah, I remember this. It's not
That game made me
terrible.
fall asleep. I fell asleep playing a
Let
video
me
game.
get it up for the peoples. here and then here and then here and do this and do this. Click OK, and there you go. It's really tiny. Let me enlarge it. There you go. It's not,
Yeah.
again, it's not terrible, right? Like, it's not the, it's not great, but it's not terrible. But
Yeah, like
was this the
you
platinum game? I don't think it
can
was,
do
right?
walls.
That wasn't the platinum game, was it?
No, that's not the platinum game.
Yeah, I didn't think it
No,
was.
that's not the platinum game. The platinum games seem to go for the IDW designs.
Hmm.
Well, anyway, anything else to say about Mutant Mayhem or?
It was fun. I enjoyed it. It's been a while since we've had something turtle, so it was fun to revisit.
Mhm. Well, I think I'm excited to talk about the show next week
Yeah,
because I think there will be some interesting stuff to talk about.
agreed.
And it is nice to talk about the Turtles again. Happy 40th anniversary.
Hmm.
So I guess this is it for this episode of the Outcast. We hope you enjoyed it. What did you think about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem? Are you excited about the new show? Did you like the movie? You can tell us all about it in the comment section below on our Twitter, which is Berkcast with a capital B, capital C, and on our Tumblr, which is Berkcast Team. So until the next episode, I was HC.
I was Wolf.
And we will see you all next time. Take care and Kawabunga.
Bye bye.